Morning. How you doing today? I know I'm saying this is morning coffee, but it's just a few minutes before noon because I must have been tired. I was up. I woke up at like 7 something, somewhere around 7:30. But you know, it was cold. I went out here to the living room. It was like 47 degrees out here. The stove only had a few embers left, and of course it was windy and cold. Then I put a bunch of wood in, and I decided I'd crawl back in bed because the bedroom was a lot warmer, with the electric heat. And anyhow, I crawled back in bed there and thought I'd just warm up. And apparently I needed more sleep because I went back to sleep, and it was 11 something. And the cat is wanting to get real friendly here. I don't know. But I just made this, it's that Choco Nut coffee that I had yesterday, which, it's pretty good all by itself. But there, I went and bought some of this peppermint extract at the grocery store yesterday. And because anyhow, I seen they had some peppermint stuff at one place. I stopped and got coffee, and I'd used it and thought it was pretty good. It was a peppermint mocha in one of them little squirt things. Okay, cat, get down, please. Anyway, and it says you can put it in your drinks here. This peppermint extract that I bought in the baking section of the store, and it says add a few drops to hot cocoa milkshakes or cocktails. Yeah, well, has other suggestions there too, but and it has this handy little flip top lid, say, that you can just drop her out there. Yeah, that works. And now my fingers, they smell nice and minty. Yeah, because I got a little bit on there. And that stuff's kind of strong because if you want a real strong mint coffee, then put as many drops in as I did. Because, I really don't taste the Choco Nut part hardly at all. It's actually a real strong peppermint coffee now. Strong on the peppermint. But I guess that's why they said a few drops, and I must have put in a few too many. That's okay. You don't know if you don't try, and you don't learn if you don't do it, right? So, anyhow, I'm sitting out here in the living room, and that ceiling looks kind of nasty back there. I had a raccoon dig a hole in the roof, and then it leaked. It's yeah, they're real thick around here, them raccoons, and they're a pest. So, I ended up, shooting that one off my roof. And then I had to go up there and patch it up. And maybe I didn't do such a good job, but it wasn't leaking anyway. But anyhow, because I'm not real good at that roof stuff anymore. But the stove's been going, and of course, when I fell asleep, it'd run out of wood, and my wife went out and got some more, because I'd put all that I had in here in this morning, thinking I'd get up right away and go out and get more. But anyhow, it's instead of being 47, it's 57 in here, which is a lot more bearable. Yeah. Real hard to warm this house up when there's a strong south wind, too. There's all them windows, facing the south. Anyhow, that's, it makes it hard. But then, especially when it's like 10 degrees out and have a real strong wind, then it's hard to do. So, anyhow, that 57's a lot more bearable than 47 though. and it's already above freezing out, so it's warmed up from 10 degrees to, it was 34 the last time I looked. And it's actually supposed to get like about 40 today, I think. So that's pretty dang good for around here in February. Yeah, that'll work pretty good. And oh yeah, that's good stuff. That'll wake your taste buds up, I'll tell you. Anyhow, I don't have the tripod on, and I should have, because shaky old me, right? And then you'll get people that dislike you because the video's shaky, and they, The thing of it is, I'm not a professional filmmaker. I'm just an old boy that I guess I kind of enjoy talking. And I don't get out much anymore, so I'm talking to you, which, that's it. I'm actually starting to enjoy this, making these videos where I just yak. So, oh well, I might find a few people that like it too. You never know. It's a big world, lots of people in it. Yeah, well, I guess I'm gonna finish drinking this coffee here, and then I'll go out and I'll do the chores, and I'll bring more wood in and warm it up in here, because my wife, she wanted to get stuff done here today because it's her day off, but she said she's cold out here, and she went back to bed. So, and now when I last talked to her, she was just about asleep there. So, yeah, that's okay. It's her day off. If she wants to sleep, that's okay. Let her sleep. That's right. She's got this weekend off. She gets every other weekend off at the hospital, so, that's how it is. That's better than some places where she seemed to work every weekend, And, yeah, I've worked places trucking that, yeah, I worked a lot of weekends in my life. And it used to kind of, as I got older, it used to kind of irritate me, because these young guys, would, they'd just have to have the weekend off. And then, so the old guy here would end up doing it. And I figured I'd just about paid my dues. And, so, anyhow, once I couldn't pass that physical, and then I, of course, that big giant farmer I was working for fired me because, I really wasn't qualified without the DOT physical, and that's understandable. But then, since he's called me up wanting me to fill in for these young guys, and well, you'll get away with driving the truck, and I said, well, it's really not legal for me to get in it and haul that stuff. I could get in it and haul stuff from your field, to town, and that would be legal because I've got my Class A license. I had to change to an in-state license to keep it because the feds, they passed some law that you had to have your physical on file to keep your interstate license. So I can't really go out of the state of Iowa here, but I could haul, corn in from the field for farmers and stuff because that would be legal. But what he wanted me to do, it was this last time he called me. I think I really made him mad this last time, but oh well, that's life. He did fire me, right? Anyhow, he wanted me to haul fertilizer, and from a fertilizer plant to an FS, of course it was spring. It was actually Easter weekend, and all these young guys, they had things they wanted to do, and they didn't want to be in a truck. And he thought, well, I'll call this old guy up. He does it, and he said, I told him, no, that's not really legal, but I said, well, I'm not gonna do it. And he said, well, you can get away with it, you won't get caught. And I'm thinking, yeah, me with my luck, I get caught, and anyhow, I told him I wasn't doing it, and plus my grandson was going to hunt Easter eggs, and there were 2 different Easter egg hunts. There was one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and I'm not getting any younger, and I sure enjoyed watching my grandson do that day. And the truck sat because I never showed up like I told him I wasn't going to. And, when you tell somebody, that's it. And then, a few days later, I was talking to my son's neighbor, which also worked for the guy, and he's not a spring chick, but he's quite a bit younger than me, He's still got kids in school and everything, and I remember when he was a teenager ramming around in a car. Yeah, because he married my neighbor girl, when I lived at home, and they were going together back then. But yeah, these guys that rammed around in cars make really good truck drivers because, they understand what a vehicle does, and they get that hot rod thing out in the car and not in the truck, because, and here I knew another guy here that, anyhow, I thought he'd be a good truck driver because, I'd never seen him do anything but put around a pickup like he was some old man when he was young, and he's younger than me too, but not a whole lot. But boy, he got in a semi and he was heck on wheels. Some people just cannot drive an ungoverned truck, because they think they're on a speedway and you're just on the road too much. You got to govern yourself. If you don't, you're not a good truck driver. And he ran into things and ran over things, and I love the guy. I mean, he's a great guy, but boy, he's real good at some stuff, but driving a truck wasn't one of them, but that's way off the point. But anyhow, this neighbor of my son's that worked for the big giant farmer too, since I got way off the point there, I tend to do that. But he told me a few days later that this big giant farmer said, well, Randy, he just don't want to work, that's it. And I told him, I said, he fired me, what do you mean I don't want to work? I worked until I was fired, didn't I? And once I was fired, I didn't have a job anymore. So why should I care if the truck sits? You know, it was, oh, your truck's waiting for you. It's waiting for you. This was his last, and we'll see if you show up. And, well, I didn't, and he was mad about it. But we're actually, my truck wasn't my truck anymore. He gave it to a younger guy, which that guy's pretty nice too. He's a likable guy. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't my fault. I couldn't pass physical anymore. And I didn't blame the big giant farmer for firing me. But, I just don't feel like jumping in a truck and doing something illegal, because odds are I'm going to get caught anyway. Besides, if it's a choice between a truck and seeing my grandson pick up Easter eggs, you know what's going to win there, don't you? I mean, that's one thing I hated about being a trucker was, I missed so many things because you had to be gone. And that's why I went to work for the big giant farmer and got off the road, because I could actually be home even though I still had that problem of missing stuff, like my daughter's last high school band concert, I had it all set to get back early enough to go in and watch her, and guess what? That trucking thing pops up. I get this call. Oh, I got a load at Fort Dodge that I need you to go get at the last minute, and it's like 3 o'clock. And I should have told him, well, get somebody else to do it. But no, I went to Fort Dodge, which put me back too late, of course, to go to that concert. So I missed my daughter's last high school concert, but still, I did get to go to quite a few things of hers, because, when you were on the road in that one place I worked for, even on your day off, they found stuff for you to do, I'd be at home and they would be, hey, call me up, boss, call me up. I need you to take this run to Fort Morgan, Colorado. I need it covered. There's nobody to do it. You got to do it, and it'd be my day off and be, well, and so here I'd go off to Fort Morgan, Colorado, instead of being at home. And that kind of stuff does get kind of old as the older you get. And my daughter was in a play, okay? And I told the boss that I was going to be in this play this evening. And, of course, I'd set my phone on vibrate while I was in that play, and it's a good thing I did, because he called several times. I just let it ring. While I was in the play, watching my daughter. There'd be the phone. Call. There's another run that he wanted me to cover, of course, and he knew that's, but then that didn't matter to him at all. That's really, I made a lot of money on that job. The pay was good, but, most of it was team driving, and my health was getting worse, and I kind of got to figuring that, it's hard for a diabetic to be in a truck and eat right, especially when the truck's always moving. I mean, that if you go to work for some outfit and they got 4 fuel tanks on each truck, you ain't stopping much, And those runs were so ridiculously tight, I mean, we'd leave Des Moines, we'd only have a half hour to spare. But between there and exit 47 in Colorado, I-70, 47 miles from Utah, There'd be a spare half hour in that run, in that 65-mile-an-hour truck. And you had to stop in Nebraska and get fuel, and there goes your half hour right there. See, actually, there was no time to even stop and go to the bathroom, let alone eat, you know. And I found out later that, you know, I'd complain to the boss and say, you know, they should put some time in these runs here, because, you know, people need to go to the bathroom and stuff. And, well, you didn't have time to do that, you know. I mean, you had to do it because it's coming out. But you know, that'd put you behind right there, let alone stopping and eating a sandwich or anything. I mean, you had to carry everything in that truck. And so, you know, as a diabetic, I got to figuring, this is not good for me at all. And plus the thing is, I couldn't be at home hardly at all. And my daughter was getting older, and you know, knew she was going to leave the house like our son did. And my kids, they didn't want to hang around once they were out of high school. They wanted to get the heck out, even though they were welcome to stay with me as long as they wanted. You know, we weren't those parents that wanted to kick them out as soon as they were 18, but, you know, we've known people like that. The dang kid's still in high school and he's out on his own, you know. Nah, I couldn't do that. Not to my kids. But anyway, so they were welcome to stay, but I knew she'd probably be like our son and just want to get to the big city as soon as she can, you know. But anyhow, I suppose that's another story. But yeah, I got a little time on Thanksgiving because I had Thanksgiving off, and I knew what was going to happen when I worked for that outfit. That I'd be getting a call, and so I had bought me some of that Bailey's Irish Cream, which is alcoholic stuff. And you know, if you drink any alcohol, the rules were you couldn't get in the truck for so many hours after that, okay? So when I got up Thanksgiving morning, I made my coffee. And, you know, the first cup of coffee, I put some of that Bailey's Cream in it because I knew the boss would be calling. And I knew I had an answer then, you know, because I figured as soon as he called, I could say, well, you know, I'm drinking this coffee with that Bailey's Cream in it, and it's darn good. But the thing of it is, I really can't go get in a semi and go anywhere, can I? So, yeah, he called. Yeah, he called, and that's what I told him. that was that. Oh yeah, you know, I could tell he was kind of peeved at that, and he kind of went on for a little bit, and then he said, well, you know, if I was home on Thanksgiving, I think I'd have been doing the same thing, you know. So I got one over on the boss that time, that Bailey's Cream. And it's really not bad stuff, but it saved me from having to explain why I didn't want to take off long before Thanksgiving dinner and get in a semi and go someplace, because, you know, I'll tell you what, these bosses and the people that own these trucks, when you're a trucker, you know, they get to thinking that you love those trucks and you really don't want to be parted with them, not even for a few minutes, you know, that you're just not happy if you're not in a truck going somewhere. Yeah. Which, yeah. When I was younger and started trucking, I loved it, but boy, as the years passed, I sure got to where, you know, it's not that I ever minded it, but it got to where it was a lot harder to do too. So, because of my health, and I guess that had something to do with my attitude too, because, you know, when I was a nice young guy, I could sit in that seat and drive, just drive, you know. Heck, one run, coming home, I went 600 miles before I stopped to go to the bathroom, you know. I mean, and that was another thing, was that coming home, you could drive a lot more miles than you could going anywhere, because you wanted to get home. But still, you know, those trucks will go a long ways. Even them first trucks I drove, you know, would go a long ways if you filled them up. Because those trucks only had 2 tanks, but they held 150 gallons each. So you had 300 gallons of fuel on board when you filled up. So that gets you through several states. And I could fill up, and I did it a lot, filled up in Oklahoma City, you know. It was a lot cheaper there, you know. And at that time, you know, I could fill that truck up, even if it was close to empty, for way less than $300, because, you know, fuel was well under $1 a gallon, you know. I mean, it didn't get to like when that Democrat before this Democrat here, you know, I don't want to get political, but it's the truth. But he was in office for 8 years, and that fuel got so high that 100 gallons would just get you just a hair over. I mean, $100 would get you just a hair over 20 gallons in your semi. So it cost a lot of money to fill one up. I mean, a lot. Ridiculous sums of money. And you know, $100, that 20 gallons really won't get you that far either, you know. Even the best of them don't do, you know. I've been around some that would get close to 8 mile a gallon, you know. And I don't know, those Detroits that were in there didn't have much power, but and we were hauling light loads too, so, you know. But yeah, I've been in a lot of them that get you 5 miles a gallon, right around there, you know, a lot of them. So anyhow, that $100 didn't get you very far. But back then, I'd fill up in Oklahoma City, you know, and 300 gallons is way less than $300. And I'd have a half tank when I'd get home here in Iowa, you know. I mean, and I ran south a lot back then, you know, so yeah, I never minded running in the south. A lot better in the winter time, most of the time, except, you know, that occasional day that they got a little something. But that was, you know, always bad. But anyhow, I've yammered on here for close to half an hour now, which is, you know, probably far more than I intended when I started out, you know. My coffee's starting to get cold, but it's still really minty, you know. And I've yammered on about truck driving, which I did, you know. I did a lot of it. Spent a lot of my life in a truck, you know. And yeah, my kids work in town in the factory, and I had tried that factory work at one time, and, you know, it just wasn't for me, you know. The scenery never changed. At least in a truck, the scenery changes, you know. There's always something different to look at. Even if you're going up and down the same road all the time, it's always something different, so, you know. And I kind of liked that, you know. And that was, Well, yeah, that's a good part of truck driving. Plus, you could listen to any kind of music you wanted to, as long as you weren't team driving. Oh, right. Well, since it was almost noon when I started it, I'm still going to call this morning coffee. Because, I slept late. That's it. But it's Saturday, and I'm an old guy, so I guess that's allowable, isn't it? I must have been tired. Tired. And I hadn't even had any Bailey's Irish Cream or anything last night. Nothing but milk. Have a good one. All right. See you later.